Coach Nick and Coach Josh here. Coach, we don't have any guest book this week. I hope our guests and our listeners aren't too disappointed, but what is the way that we can bring a whole ton of value without a guest today? What's on your mind? What can we talk about? How can we help people no matter what position or, area of their life they're in? How can we bring value?
The value, the value, the value, the value. Well, it's got to come back to like hitting the reset button. I think this is most important. I don't know about you, Coach, but I see trends through the days and the weeks with clients and things that propagate from one call to the next. Here's what I've seen in the last couple of weeks. But the reason why I say reset is because we're all in different places, right? So like, what's the application that is general enough that it can be specific to everyone?
Right.
So like we think about it from two perspectives. Last week, what came up 4 or 5 different calls. So like 10-20% of my calls was probably anxiousness, especially from guys. I heard a lot of feelings of anxiousness. That people that are successful and they are feeling anxious, and most of them haven't felt that before. They mentioned it a couple of times. And I thought that has been an interesting theme, and to kind of dig into them about what it is. And the biggest reflection that I took away from the themes of that was that based on some changes of the macro environment, obviously in the last year or so, and changes that they'd had personally, and also the openness and awareness to see those things, they started to feel emotions they hadn't felt before because they had more space. So it wasn't like this was new, but it was the first time they recognized where it was and what it was, or what they'd given it a label of.
I heard this recently. Let me know if this applies. The more we want, the more we want to achieve, the better we want to feel, the more sensitive we have to be to those feelings of, fulfillment, happiness, gratitude, like all great feelings. We have to be open. We have to open our awareness to it. So what does that do? It makes us really vulnerable to some of these other negative feelings. Do you find that to be true? Like anxiousness, you said like they haven't felt it in a while or a long time or before. It's been there though. They're just letting themselves feel it. And what I found is when you get really real with yourself and what those feelings are, where they're coming from, what's causing them, and you identify them, you put a finger on it, you invite them, you bring them to the table to talk to or about, you can attack them. You can figure out how to overcome that anxiousness. Do you find that to be true?
I do. Probably 10, 12 years ago, my mindset around emotions was not consciously, but now I can reflect and be more articulate about it, was to push them to one side. I used to see people like flare up in emotions, like in my old career, like, and friends and other people just like have these like wild emotions, and then just observe that and think, what's up with these people? Like, how can you allow that to be the case? And the rhetoric was that that's not me, it's just the emotion, I can't do anything about it. And I just felt I had a massive resistance to that. I'm like, yes, you can. And I was like, that was something I just like, was like, I'm not doing that. That won't be me. That's not who I am. I'll always be controlled. I'll always be, you're gonna find me the same way. I'm never gonna have these huge swings to these crazy emotions that don't make you look good. And that was valuable for me. It was helpful, but I also found that it stopped the pendulum swinging the other way as well. So I've rather got this like huge. I saw these huge swings in like what we generally call negative emotions, but I would give you that there's not any negative, just different. They would use huge swings in negative emotion all the way back to positive as well. Like, oh my gosh. Whereas my pendulum was like very small in the movement, but both ways.
Yeah.
But to your point, it's harder to attach. Nothing would really get me excited, and certainly nothing would get me angry, but nothing would really get me passionate necessarily. Like not that I could really attach to it.
So I'm curious what your resolution was, because this is probably resonating with a lot of people that don't want to feel those negative feelings. or that feel them come in. Like anxiousness is, man, that's like a debilitator. That's huge, right? You feel anxious, you feel uh, and a lot of times you can't put your finger on it. You don't know what it is, but it's like this unexamined thing that just paralyzes you. So how do you come out of that? What did you do? You remember?
I think first of all, it's the awareness of it. Right, that's what I mean by the reset button. Right, like just that's the theme, and I want to when we take it to something else as well. But it's the observation of it. Right, like you don't feel that, but it's not. You can't just push down one side of it. Like it's when you push it down, it's there still. You're just not seeing it. You're just not associated to it. I think first of all, the ask yourself: Are you willing to start to see other things? And I would actually ask yourself, like, am I? And have your coach do it, have your friend do it. Like, am I? Are you open to this? And once you can do that, you can start to explore. Right? You might find that the answer is no. That's and then guess what? Like you're not going to be open to it, and that's okay, unless you dig a bit harder and ask the question. But then it's just to explore, right? It's a muscle like anything else, and just put yourself into the place of, well, if I was getting excited, what would it be about? What are the things that do excite me? So even though, I guess here's a good distinction, even though the pendulum is swinging very, very in a very shallow way, you can't see much of a movement. It still is swinging. There's
Mm,
still something there. So you just have to be really zoomed in order to see it.
mm,
Like it's, I often talk about passion in terms of like the little fire in your stomach. People think I haven't got any passion. It's just because like you just can't see it. You're not associated to it. It's dormant. But if you go into your stomach and you find it, like you look in there, you are going to find it, and you're going to find maybe a tiny little like spark every now and again. You look at it, it's pitch black, and then like every now and again there's a spark. What's that? That little spark, and then you can cultivate that little spark and like just look out for it, and then you see it, and you start to like it turns into a tiny little flame, and then after a while you cultivate that, look after it, and you do things that support that, and it turns into a fire. And before you know it, it's a raging inferno, and you've got the complete opposite. Like you're full of it, like you're full of that passion for whatever that thing is.
mm.
So it's going and exploring, and and so if you translate that passion to something like an activity, it's if you've never played sports before and you don't think sports is your thing, if you really went inside you and found something, like what would it be? Like there must have been. I know that no sports are attractive to you, and that's another thing to say to you, coach, because I know that they all are to you. But if that's your thing, like if you don't think that you like sports, you go inside and say, like, look, out of all the sports you don't like, which ones don't you like the least?
Mm.
Start there. Start to cultivate that. Like the ones you like the least, okay, here's two. What could you go and do and explore, like a physical action, to see if like you could like them even a little bit less. Because you
Mm.
come up the scale a little bit towards I like, and then build it from that point.
Yeah, I'd actually, man, I'd like to offer the reverse of that and share a little anecdote if I could.
Mm.
Yeah, so played baseball all my life growing up, and wanted to play college ball after high school, and was a decent player. I was good enough to play college ball, but maybe not a scholarship. So I went to Division III school, tried to walk on a place I wasn't recruited, and I got cut from the team. Now, baseball was my identity. I was a baseball player. It is what I did. I was good at it. I thought I was good at it. And then to have somebody else tell me at that level that I wasn't good enough to play on the team absolutely crushed my soul. Now, there's more to the story with, I transferred out. I went to another program. I got cut a second time, and it was this gut check moment in my life with, man, this is who I am, and everybody's telling me I'm not this.
Yeah.
I eventually clawed and scratched and did what I have to do to stay on the team. I made all region next year, the following year after that. So I conquered that, but there was another lesson in there that was maybe more important was, I was going to graduate eventually. I'm not going to be a college baseball player all my life. Who was I? What was I passionate about? And it was sports up until that point, but then it had to become something else. And that's probably what I've spent my last 10 years doing. I've been in a couple different roles in business development for industries that, I attached myself to, and I did my best to be passionate about. But if I was really true to myself, could I be passionate about truckload shipments? Could I be passionate about, repairing HVAC systems and unclogging toilets and plumbing and all that? No, I couldn't. I love coaching. I love bringing other people up. I love holding up the mirror to people and saying, is this who you want to be? Are you acting in your best state? Where do you want to go? Let's get really real about this. Because I think our ideal clients are us, are ourselves. I've been through this myself, and I love helping other people do that. And it wasn't until the last couple of years that I realized I had a real value to give to other people because I had been through it myself, and I have conquered it. Now I'm not there, or I haven't achieved or accomplished, or I can walk away. It's this perpetual thing. But I'm in a spot where I love doing what I'm doing. That fire that you mentioned is a raging fire. It's a bonfire. If I open my mouth wide enough, you can probably see it coming out of my stomach up here. I love what I do, and I want to be able to give that up to other people. So, anyways, I said a lot there, but in summation, I thought I had this identity of who I was. I conquered it. I had to do a lot of self-reflecting on what it was I wanted. It took me a long time to do it, but I'm in a place right now where that fire is raging again, equally as much as me being a college baseball player.
So cool. Now, can you see in reflection, or could you see in journey? And of course, like you made the distinction, this is just perpetual. There's no finish line here. It's just part of the journey. But just to give this moment a line in the journey, as you reflect now, can you see any threshold moments where that fire just went whoosh and lit up? Or if you reflect from as you were going through it, can you see any of those moments?
I think it was the lack of it that created the fire, to be honest with you. Like I know that there is a fire in there. What is it? It's not what I'm doing now. Now I like certain aspects of those roles. I love people and connecting with people. I was in outside sales. I got to travel, but there was something missing. It was so evident. It was so apparent. If I was being really true to myself, I made the best of the situation, had a positive mindset, but it wasn't there. The fire was not burning. So to think about when that moment was, probably talking to other coaches at this company. Nick, you were a big part of that because you were one of the first coaches I talked to at this company, and it just resonated with me. It was my frequency. As soon as I heard what you guys were talking about, what we want to accomplish as a company, to be the most sought after coaching and advising firm by 2022. Our mission is to bring relief and eliminate suffering in the workplace. That was the fire right there. There was lighter fluid on it. There was huge logs. Like it was just this thing that all it needed was a spark. And there's some doubt in the beginning, but it's and some challenging times as well. In the beginning as I grew the practice. But like I said, it was something that I knew I wanted and had to have, and I would accept nothing less.
It's cool to hear. I asked that because it's when you're in it, when you're searching for it, it's often not as clear as when you can look back in hindsight and reflect and go, okay, that was it. So what would you say to people that are in the exploration process?
It's a great question, because it's easy to connect the dots looking back, right? Yes. And sometimes it's hard even looking back, so you almost don't have a shot moving forward. But don't settle. If that fire is not burning, if you're leaking energy in your daily activities, if you don't love what you do, I think we deserve the very best in this world. I think we deserve a fulfilling, happy life that we can be ourselves and express ourselves creatively and do what we want to do every single day. And if that resonates with you, then don't settle. It's not for everybody. I think people kind of accept their circumstances. There's percentages of the population that's okay with it, and that's okay. And there's no judgment with that. But if you're listening to the words that I'm saying, and this is like, yes, like I believe in that, just keep going. You never know when that breakthrough is going to happen, but just know that you don't have it if you don't have it, and then know when you do have it when you do have it.
Can we talk about the fog that might be over that, the thing that might want to try and protect you from that exploration, like the fear?
Absolutely.
Like could it be true that those things you just said resonate with someone that's listening right now, watching right now, but it's not getting to that point because it's bouncing off the external defenses of fear? What would
Yep.
you tell that person?
Yeah, I think there's that level of comfort. Growth is by nature uncomfortable. It's this essence or this mindset or this mantra that you're going to have to do something you've never done before to have something you never have had before. And if you think of, I like to think of it like this. You've seen, like, the stock market, and if you look at a stock, it goes up like this, right? Anybody who trades looks for these patterns of, like, trending upwards, trending downwards, neutral. If you think of growth in your life, the trend is this way, but the reality is this, right? So there are these low points on the way to this achievement that scares the hell out of people, that prevents them from actually taking these steps, because it's going to be hard. It's hard in the beginning, but you're doing this. There's this term out there, hard easy. Do what's hard in the short term. Maybe the short term is 5 years, which seems like a long time for people. But if you're doing what you love to do, you go through these hard things because you love doing it, and your life is going to be great and become easy in the long term. And when I say easy, just come naturally to you. You made these connections. You've put in so much sweat equity to what you believe in. Your life becomes easier. And I I didn't want to have it any other way. I'm willing to go through those painful times to make a fool of myself, to run through the fear of things that terrified me, because that's part of it. It's part of being vulnerable and humble, showing some humility along the way, that, hey, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, but I'm going to figure this out. I'm just going to take steps and get more information on the way. So I think, and that's probably the biggest separation point, right? Is people who want to be comfortable. That's great. That's easy, hard, right? If you want it easy in the short term, your life's going to be hard in the long term. If you want to do the hard things up front and you're ready to run through a wall to accomplish these things, your life can become great. And I've recognized that. I recognize these principles in the long term. I'm setting myself up, like to say, I'm building an empire. I want to have coaches around me on my team that are coaching other people that are aligned with what I believe in. And I want to do the things I love doing even more. I'm spending X percentage of time doing those things that I love. I want to spend more time doing those things, and I'm going to, and I will.
Yeah. Yeah. Easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life.
Yeah.
Make the hard choice now to create a life that is what you want, and live in what you want based on making it difficult right now, as it were.
Delayed gratification, maybe delayed gratification is a term.
For sure, for
Yeah.
sure. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, because I also think that there's the couple of different levels you talked about in terms of, can you see some of that, go chase it, that spark, that feeling, go get it, like go after it, know that it's going to be tough and that's okay. You can achieve magnificent things in 5 years. It's such a significant time block, but it feels like it's too long, which is crazy, because that's just completely conflicting. But that's how we think, right? And there's also the fear I can't do it, but there's also the level above the fear I can't do it, is to not even acknowledge that there is a fear there.
Mm.
There's no fear, it's just because of something else. I couldn't possibly do that. That's not, my team aren't doing the things they're supposed to be doing, therefore I can't do what I can do. It's not about fear. So they're not even letting it come in to digest, to ask themselves the questions. They're just dismissing it outright. It's like, it's throwing a ball. It's like playing catch with someone, going back and forth. Now, if you're both sitting inside a car and you're throwing over the ball to that person's car, and it's the best throw, most accurate throw, it's the right exact thing that they need. If they've got the window up, it's not even going to go in. They've got no chance of catching it. It's just going to bounce off.
Mm.
Where do we go from there, coach?
As in, like, not even having the window open, or the window's open, you're.
If your window's not open, where do we go?
Oh, yeah, you stay in this level of what you've deemed to be comfortable for you in the long term, and that comes without achievement, that comes without happiness, without fulfillment, comes with comfortability. I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's the most dangerous thing.
Yeah.
Because if you extrapolate that out over time, your window's shut and you're not getting out of the car, what's going to happen to you? right? If you wait 20 years to finally get out, you open the window and get out of your car, everything around you is different. You're going to fall over because you haven't stood up for 20 years. Like apathy happens. You fade away, like you disappear. The version of you of when you got in the car that you were trying to protect and be comfortable with is gone because it's like there's been no stress to create to have it be at least even the version of it when you got in, let alone any growth. I think the opposite, that concept there is what drives me forward at all times because it catches me on both sides. It's like, but if there's the fear of moving forward, because it always comes up, still comes up for me for sure every damn day, and it will. I don't expect it to go away. Fear of moving forward, then realize that it's not. It's just taking action and taking one step at a time. That's okay. If that doesn't work for me, it's reminding myself of the fear of what the risk of not doing anything at all. The risk of not doing anything at all is much more than the risk of doing anything else. So differently, the worst thing you can do is nothing.
Big time, bingo. Let me make a quick sports reference here. This is for the Buffalo crowd where I'm from. So Jim Kelly, quarterback, famous quarterback, went to 4 Super Bowls in a row for the Bills. I believe I think I have this right. He was infamous for throwing up before every game. He would get so nervous, and like top performer, legend, Hall of Famer. Like, why is this guy doubting himself? So think if that game never started, or if a game never started, he would be perpetually nervous all the time. What got him out of his nerves? When did he perform? When he was actually doing stuff. When the game kicked off, when he was taking snaps, in the Kelly K gun. It was all these things that required action. If the game never happened, he would be in the state of, probably what he wouldn't want to be known for, right? But he got out there and took action, and that was when he was at his best. We have so much of our fear is untrue, just based on truths or untruths that are just they're based in the sense of falsehood, and the cure for it is massive action. I mean, this has come up how many podcast episodes for us? Just do something, take action. It'll actually be better, almost guaranteed, than what you're thinking it is in your mind every single time.
Dare to suck, right? It's all right. Like it will work out. Like you'll find out something, and then you can do it again and again. Awesome stuff, Coach.
Absolutely. Any final thoughts if you want to sum up our conversation? What are you taking away from today's conversation?
I didn't even get to my second point. There's a lot of stuff. Explore, keep doing it, right? I think that one of the things that for me, this is so important just for us to do this coach's corner and send it out is it's for me important. Like this is helpful for me. Literally going through and sharing these things and getting your shares and going back and forth and digging in and sharing more is doing more for my fire. Right. So that's my biggest takeaway is like it's selfish. It's selfish, but anything that is unselfish also has to be selfish, because you have to be selfish to be unselfish, because if you can't give something you haven't got already. So if I'm not growing, I can't show up for my clients, my potential clients, in the best way.
So true. And that'll be my takeaway, that this is perpetual. You never reach a point to where I can stop putting in so much effort, right? That was our podcast episode last week. I stopped doing the things I was doing to make me successful. It's this perpetual embodiment of the person that you want to be. It's not, it's a state. It's a state of being in who you are. And if you want to be known as somebody who is a leader and accomplishes things, then it's the person you are and the person who you become. It's not some esoteric thing that you're always trying to achieve. You either are or you aren't. Bam.
Got it.
We'll stick a fork in it there. Coach, always a pleasure. Thank you for the conversation.
Always a pleasure.